Welcome back to me reading Transported Eight Wings of Fire story. This time is to be Chapter 8. But I've also got some good news to share first. Our fearless leader, the author, has given me a green light on using art made by him. So I will use it when applicable because I am a really blunt person and I prefer to just read and push it out, straight and to the point. But when I see a piece of artwork for a specific scene I want to showcase, I will use it. But for now, let's just get started. The chapter name is One Spicy School Day. Daniel and Turtle walked through the hall to their first class of the day. Daniel took this time to look around at the interior of the school. Since the school was carved into a mountain, there were lots of natural features. The cave top was littered with stalactites of different sizes. Many of them appeared to be glittered with little specks of colors. He saw greens, pinks, reds, and some darker purples, and a few white ones, and a few whites as well. Those are jade fragments, Daniel thought. He knew that they came in different colors, so maybe it was for this reason that Jade Mountain named Jade Mountain to begin with. It was for this reason that Jade Mountain named Jade Mountain. It's for this reason that Jade Mountain, another typo, Jade Mountain was named Jade Mountain to begin with. Besides the colorful jades on the rooftop, he saw multiple artworks throughout the hallway. The paintings were quite crisp and impressive, to say the least. Did students paint them? If so, then they have some real talent, Daniel thought. As they continued to walk, Daniel realized he didn't know that much about his way around the school. Maybe I should ask Turtle some questions. Hey, Turtle, could you tell me some things about the school? Like anything I should know? Well, not much, to be honest, Turtle said. Although for some reason, they changed things up this year regarding the winglets. Well, first, we don't have a mudwing in our winglet because Umber decided to not come back for this year and stay with Sora and the Mud Kingdom. After what happened with the whole icicle episode, Turtle said, initially we weren't going to have a Skywing either, until you came along at least. I see. Did anything else change? Turtle confirmed. Last year, you would study with multiple winglets. However, now you just study with your own winglet. How come? Wouldn't it be better to learn with more dragons? You'd seem to have a better chance of making friends. Yeah, the Dragons of Destiny decided it would be better if dragons first got to know their classmates well beforehand, before putting them with other students, Turtle explained. They also said it would probably be easier to work on assignments together, since you're all in the same winglet. Well, they do have a point there, Daniel agreed. Though I can't say it's the smartest decision, considering they would have to have more classes running at the same time to teach all the students. Not really, Turtle replied. Now every winglet has a separate schedule, regardless of classes and lunch. So while one winglet has break, the others are in class. It's a bit weird, but they're just experimenting with it at this point. But what if someone has a friend who they want to hang out with in another winglet? Then what? Then they just hang out after classes end for the day, Turtle said. And speaking of classes, here we are. They stopped in front of a cave, packed with scrolls that went up to the cave roof. There's got to be more scrolls in here than I've seen in my entire life. Then again, you don't see many scrolls on Earth, so that's not too surprising, Daniel thought. He looked around. There were 3 wooden desks inside the cave. One of them sat in the center, surrounded by 7 stools facing the front of the room, while the other 2 desks were towards the back of the room, which could each seat 4 dragons. So a total of 15 dragons could be seating in the cave. However, due the changes, another typo, we love typos here. However, due to the changes, Turtle mentioned there would be only 6 dragons total for the lesson. Daniel spotted the rest of the Jade Winglet sitting there around the center table. Moon and Kikajaw sat on the right-hand side, while Winter and Keebly sat on the left. There was an empty seat on Keebly's left-hand side, which left 2 spots open in the middle. Daniel took a seat next to Winter, while Turtle took a seat next to Kinkajaw and Moon. Prepare yourself, Hurricane, Winter said with unenthusiasm. For what? Daniel asked, a little worried at his words. The most boring lesson in your entire life, interrupted Keebley, who seemed just as bored as Winter. It can't be that bad, right? Daniel asked. They're not wrong, Turtle said, joining in the conversation. Just wait and see. Just then, Webbs walked into the cave. All right, students, please grab a scroll and turn to Chapter 10. We will be studying the Dragonets of Destiny and how they stopped the war. Everyone got up from their seats and grabbed a scroll from the wall before sitting back down again. This lesson isn't that bad. I'll be fine, Daniel thought. Oh, how he was so wrong, as not even 15 minutes into the lesson, he was already bored out of his mind. God, how depressing can someone be to make every single sentence so boring? I told you so, said Winter. Yeah, no kidding, Daniel said, with utter disbelief at how bad a lesson could possibly be. It was at this time when Webbs was speaking about how the Dragonets of Destiny started to bring the tribes together after leaving, or another typo here, but we love typos here, after leaving the mounting, oh, that's a double typo there. We love double typos here. A few years early, when Moon suddenly asked, Professor? Yes, Moon, Webbs responded. Why did the Dragonets leave a few years early? Daniel's ears suddenly perked up as he saw his chance. I think it's time we spice things up, Daniel whispered with a devilish grin. The 3 dragons beside him looked at him with a different expression. Each with a different expression. Turtle looked a little frightened. Keebley had a confused look on his face, while Winter was quite intrigued. How are you going to do that? Turtle asked. Just watch, Daniel responded before turning his attention back to Webbs, who was just finishing up his explanation to Moon. So in summary, the Dragonets said that they were ready for the world, although not having waited for the war to have lasted 20 years, me, Kestrel, and Dune reluctantly decided to would be okay. That's another typo there, but we love typos here. Decided it would be okay after a long discussion. That's a lie, Daniel interrupted. The whole room of dragons turned to look at him. Excuse me? Webb said, a little annoyed. That's a lie, Daniel repeated, when suddenly Keebley turned to look at him. Hurricane, what are you doing? Keebley whispered. Spicing things up, Daniel replied calmly. The rest of the Jade Winglet sat, silently watching the show as Webbs continued to speak. What do you mean by, that's a lie, Hurricane? Are you implying that I would lie to my students to, let's say, cover up my actions? Webbs asked angrily. That's exactly what I'm saying, Daniel said. Just like how you lied about leaving the DOD. Wait a minute. I get it now. DOD meant Dragonets of Destiny. I thought it was a typo. My bad. Still, I think it's funny because it still reminds me of Department of Defense. Leave on their own and instead left them to die along with Kestrel and Dune by Scarlet's claws while you escaped through the river hole in the mountain. Webb's face quickly turned from angry to shocked at his words, and Turtle was the first to notice. Is that true, Webbs? Did you really leave them all to die like that? Of course not, Webbs answered quickly. He's just making up stories here. Oh, really? Daniel scoffed. Then let's also not forget the time where you plotted to kill Queen Glory because you thought she would mess up a fake prophecy. You what? Kinkajaw and Moon yelled simultaneously. Kinkajaw was fading into a deep shade of red, while Moon was standing up on her back legs, leaning on the table in front of her. Should I continue? Daniel asked casually. The cave quickly went tense as Jade Winglet? Oh yeah. Kept looking from Daniel to Webbs and back to each other, all curious to see how this would end. I don't know what you're talking about, Webbs finally answered. I'll take it as a yes then. Webb's face continued to change emotion as Daniel continued to speak, soon going from shocked to desperate to fearful. Dune's neck was snapped by Scarlet, while Kestrel and the rest of the dragonettes were taken to the Sky Kingdom to fight for entertainment. Meanwhile, you ran back to the Sea Kingdom, where you were imprisoned by the Queen and sentenced to prison. You escaped because the Dragonettes of Destiny had mercy on you, although they shouldn't have. On your way out, you were stung by Blister's tail and poisoned by Sandwing venom. Then, even after all that, the Dragonettes of Destiny still had enough mercy left in them to carry you all the way to the rainforest from the Sea Kingdom and then traverse the damn desert and Ice Kingdom to get you a damn antidote. Daniel was mad now, having just realized how much pain and trouble the dragon in front of him had caused them. At first, he just wanted to mess with them, but now it was personal. You put them through so much pain when they were growing up, and yet the only reason you're still alive is because they had a good heart and not a rotten one like yours. Because it was me. We love typos here. Because if it was me in their place, you would still be in the Sea Kingdom. The dragons around them were absolutely speechless. Keebly and Turtle's jaws were down to the floor, completely shocked, while Moon, Kikajaw, and Winter had nothing but rage on their faces. Just then, the gong rang to mark the end of the first period and the start of next class. Saved by the bell, Daniel snarled at Webbs before he put back his scrolls and stormed out of the class. Webbs, on the other hand, was white as a pearl. It motioned for them to leave, as he thought about the things. We love typos here. As he thought about the things Daniel had said, which implied to the rest of the Jade Winglet that Daniel was telling the truth after all. Daniel was walking down the corridor before he felt a cold talon touch his shoulder, as well as a "Hold up, Winter!" from the distance behind him. He turned around to see Winter next to him, as well as the rest of the Jade Winglet catching up to them. How do you know so much about him? It's not like you were there, Turtle asked, nearly speechless. The rest of the Jade Winglet turned to look at him curiously. It's like I said before, Turtle, Daniel said slowly. I know a lot. Don't ask how, I just do. Now let's get to hunting class. Daniel quickly changed the subject to a more normal one. I was lucky to find that there was a schedule board on the way to history, so I was able to memorize the next lessons and their locations for the rest of the school day, he said before walking towards the clearing to the outside world, which was where the schedule said that class would be held. Upon reaching the clearing to the world outside, they were met with Tsunami, who was going to be their instructor for today. All right, Dragonettes, welcome to your first flying lesson. Isn't this supposed to be hunting? Moon asked. Well, it was, Tsunami explained, but due to the changes regarding the winglets and so, we needed to add an extra class to make sure everyone had something to do. Oh, all right, Queebly said. So how exactly does this work? The point of the class is to make you guys feel more confident in the air when maneuvering around obstacles. So, to begin, we're going to have some races to see what level people are at. Currently, there are a series of 5 levels. The higher the level, the more skilled you are. As of yet, there have been no dragons placed as level 5. Placed as level 5. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Placed as level 5. So don't get your hopes up. All right. Now, are there any 2 participants who want to go first? Tsunami asked, after a long and boring introduction. Yeah, sure, why not? Keely piped up. I'll fly first. Okay, then. Anyone else? I'll go. I want to get this over and done with, Turtle said, as he stepped forward. All right, this works. So basically, a course has been set up around Jade Mountain. The first to make a full lap around and back here will win. Remember that it doesn't matter who wins or loses, as depending on each other's skill, you may still be placed in the same level. In the meanwhile, I don't know if that's typo or not. I'm still going to laugh at it either way. In the meanwhile, the rest of the class will be seated on the observatory to watch. Works for me, Ghibli smiled. Let's just get this done with, Turtle said. Tsunami whacked her tail into the ground, and so the race began. Although, it wasn't like you can see from what they called the observatory. Half of the mountain was blocked off by trees. So all you could see was just when they took off and when they were finishing, which kind of sucked, to be honest. But there wasn't much he could do about it. They were completely covered, and if he wanted to fly up to get a better view, he would have to hover over the branches, which would tire him out for when his race came around. So he just had to sit there. Eventually, both dragons came back, with Turtle taking the lead at the last second, winning him the race. All right, boys, Tsunami said to the panting dragons. I'll be placing Turtle in rank 4 and Ghibli in rank 3. How can she even grade them when we couldn't see anything to begin with? This makes no sense, Daniel thought. He heard Moon let out a soft laugh, guessing she must have heard his thoughts. Okay, I finished grading Ghibli and Turtle, so now it's time for your race, Moon and Winter. No! Kikajaw suddenly shouted as she jumped onto Moon's back. Whoa, Kikajaw! Moon shouted as they both toppled over. I want to go with Moon! Kikajaw demanded, clutching Moon tightly while still on the ground. Help me, Moon croaked as Kikajaw squeezed her little arms around her friend tighter than before. Daniel stared down, and he couldn't help but laugh at the scene in front of him. Soon, the rest of the Jade Winglet boys joined him, and even Tsunami laughed a little before saying, All right, fine, you win. That'll mean that Winter, you'll be wasting Hurricane. Soon afterwards, Kikajaw and Moon raced. As usual, you couldn't see basically anything through the trees, so it was difficult to tell who was winning. Eventually, after what felt like a whole hour, even though it was maybe 10 minutes at best, the race ended in a tie, and both dragons were placed in the second level. It was now finally time for Daniel and Winter to race. All right, boys, Tsunami said. Show us what you've got. With pleasure, Winter said. Hey, Winter, let's see if you heard it. Let's see if you learned anything, Daniel said as he bumped Winter on the side with one of his wings. All Winter did was nod with a very slight grin, which only Daniel saw before eventually heading to the start line. Daniel waited for the signal as he got himself ready. Whack! There it was. Winter and Daniel both launched into the air at alarming speed and were already halfway around the mountain. There were obstacles, of course, but nothing that was too difficult to dodge. Daniel looked to back. We love typos here. Makes me laugh. Daniel looked back to see Winter, right on his tail, still holding steady. Wow, he's actually keeping up. Impressive. Let's see how far he can go. Daniel shot up into the air, preparing to go into a dive to gain speed. Winter, catching on what he was doing, followed him up. Let's give him a show, shall we? Daniel called to Winter. He saw Winter nod briefly before shooting up past him. They were probably a few hundred meters in the air before they both dived down towards the ground. Daniel made sure to not dive and tuck in his wings and legs in too much, or else he wouldn't be able to stop. He saw the finish line in sight as Winter overtook him. Based on their speed, it would only take about 10 more seconds to reach. So, using what was left of his strength, he flapped his wings one more time and tucked his legs in fully. For a short second, it nearly set him off balance, but he was able to recover as he caught up with him and ended the race in a tie. They both landed, causing a large gust of wind and dirt to be thrown around. As it cleared, they saw Tsunami in the distance. It was difficult to make out her face, but it was safe to say she wasn't expecting a race like the one that just happened. The rest of the Jade Winglet appeared. They seemed just as impressed as Tsunami was, except for Ghibli, who had already seen Winter and Daniel both fly before. Although Daniel guessed, hey, we love typos here, guessed they didn't see the dive they both pulled off due to the trees from the observatory. The gong rang, signaling that it was the Jade Winglet's free period time. Quickly, Tsunami dismissed the class before writing something down on the scroll she had on her. Well, that was fun, Daniel said to the rest of the group. I'm going to head back to the sleeping caves if you need me. Winter, we should race again sometime. He shot him a kind grin. Winter nodded once again before returning the grin, but the funniest part of the day so far for Daniel was seeing the faces of his friends as he did so. They looked more shocked than when they were racing, and so before he left, Daniel nodded. Daniel added, "Smile more. It suits you." He gave Winter a playful wink before he, that's a double he, haha, we love typos, he headed off. In the distance, behind him, he heard Winter remark, "Oh, shut up, you speedster," which only made Daniel smile more. 5 minutes later, Daniel flew back to the caves, hoping for some rest after that tiring race. However, he found the opposite when he arrived, as he found Pearl sitting there instead with a pack of cards. "Oh, hi! Didn't see you there," Daniel said. "Oh, hello. I forgot that the winglet got a new skywing," Pearl said softly. "Yeah, sorry about that. Do you normally play cards with the group?" Daniel asked, trying to start up a friendly conversation. "Yeah, normally during breaks, we tend to play together, since I have my own cave and all that. I can leave if you want." No, it's fine. They'll be here soon anyway." Just then, he saw the rest of the winglet. Walked into the room. Just then, the rest of the winglet walked into the room. Daniel saw Moon's facial expression and immediately realized what was going on. Moon. Moon, we agreed to talk after classes and alone, Daniel thought. To her, she simply shook her head and said to the rest of the group around her, "We need to talk about this prophecy you had your mind on, Hurricane." And that is the end of the chapter, except for the usual Fearless Leader author's note at the very bottom. Hey everyone, sorry if the story is kind of slow and boring so far. I didn't want to rush into it, if you know what I mean. So I built it up, I guess. But from now on, it should start getting more interesting. In parentheses, I hope at least. I'll try to get another chapter out soon. However, it may take a while since I want it to be well made. So if I don't upload for a bit, don't worry. I haven't forgotten about the book. Besides that, I hope you enjoyed and have a good day. So, Daniel has talked down a teacher, raced against Winter, and now Moon knows about the prophecy. Yeah. Things really picking up, huh? Anyway, see you next time. Hopefully tomorrow.